Hello, I'm Robin Sherman, Curator and Museum Manager for the historic Lucknow Mansion at Castle in the Clouds. Now, usually when I show up on your screen, I'm here to tell you a story of the estate's history or share an interesting artifact from our collection. But over the next couple weeks, we're going to broaden our view a little bit and speak more generally about holiday traditions, some from the period of Lucknow's original owners, Tom and Olive Plant, and some much more modern. Today, for instance, we're stepping away from the mansion entirely and spending some time with the castle's executive chef, Lisa Sharp. It's that time of year when people start to spend a lot of time in their kitchens making tasty treats for friends and family, and Lisa is sharing with us one of her favorite recipes and demonstrating how to make robin's nest cookies. This is a recipe that she grew up making during the holidays, something her sister would always ask for. So it's part of her traditional holiday celebration. So without further ado, I'm going to hand things over to Lisa.
Hi there everyone, my name is Lisa Sharp and I'm the Executive Chef at the Carriage House Restaurant at Castle in the Clouds in Moultonborough. And what I'm making today for you folks, sharing a recipe that was a favorite recipe when I was a little girl. I used to make Christmas cookies during the holiday season. And one of the favorites was something that I'm sharing with you today, which is robin's nest cookies. So basically they're kind of like a shortbread cookie that get rolled in nuts, and then you make some little fondant eggs with some almond extract, and they're just really neat and different. So to begin with, what I'm going to do is I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and we're going to put them into our sifter to sift it to start the cookies. And you always want to sift because it helps aerate the flour and makes it, if there's any little particulates in there, it won't go through the sifter into your flour. So basically there we have it. Now you can see how nice and light and fluffy this is once we've sifted it. So now we will make the base. At this point we want to add a half of a cup of firmly packed brown sugar. And then the recipe calls for a cup of margarine. I'm using butter because that's what I had. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the softened butter. And I'm going to start to mix that in. And once we get this incorporated a little bit, we're going to add 2 eggs that have been separated, so it's just the egg yolk. We're going to reserve the egg white for rolling the dough into the egg white and then into chopped walnuts to make it seem like it's the nest part. Okay, so now I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla, and usually you can use just the cap. It's always been a teaspoon measure. And now I'm going to add in the egg yolks. Now we're going to try to pull this all together. As you can see, it's a pretty stiff batter. I may have to resort to using my hands with some gloves on. Over here we have the egg whites. And all I'm going to do is take this wire whisk, and I'm just going to fluff them until they're just lightly frothy. So now all we're going to do is we're going to take this dough, and you want to just make whatever size cookie you'd like to make. And then what you do is you roll it in the egg white, and then you roll it in chopped walnuts, and then you put them on the sheet pan, and what you want to do is you just want to press, and hopefully they don't fall apart on you. Just want to press them in on the top to make room for the little fondant eggs. And so now they're ready for baking. So they're going to go into a 350-degree preheated oven for approximately 12 minutes or until they're golden brown. So at this point, while the cookies are baking, we're going to work on the little fondant eggs, hence the name, the Robin's Nest. So what we have here is I have 2 cups of confectioner's sugar, which I have pre-sifted, much like for the flour, to aerate it and to make it nice and fluffy. And to that, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of softened butter. And this part of the recipe does call specifically for butter. And then light corn syrup. So 3 tablespoons. And then we also need a half a teaspoon of almond extract. And I'm going to start to mix it together now. But then the last thing that makes them, what they're named for, is food coloring. That's to make it look like a robin's egg. Coloring. So it calls for 2 drops of blue. And this is gel, which is a little bit different. So I'm just going to add a little extra to it. And it calls for 1 drop of green. And if you need to adjust the coloring, you may. And as you can see now, the color of this is much like a robin's egg. So while these are still cooling, all you're going to want to do is just pinch off a small amount of it and roll it so that it looks like an egg. And depending on the size of how big you make the eggs, you can put 2 or 3 in each cookie. So once you've got enough rolls, we're going to transfer these over to a nice festive plate. And then what you do is you just take and you keep rolling until you get all your cookies full. And then at that point, what you do is you can enjoy them during your holiday, give them as gifts, or stash them somewhere and just eat them yourself.
We want to thank Lisa for taking some time to bake with us today, and we hope you enjoyed this look at one of her holiday traditions. And if you're so inclined, you can try this recipe out for yourself. You'll find a link to it in the video description. Please keep an eye on our website and social media in the coming weeks for more tales of holiday traditions. And from our castle family to yours, have a happy and safe holiday.